Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Supervisor.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, we pray this day for your ever-enduring guidance. We ask you, cloak us in wisdom and fortitude, that we may disperse our knowledge and facts intelligently among all humanity of whom we serve. Amen. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I apologize, our closed session ran a little over. Appreciate your attendance. Richard, would you like to announce items discussed in closed session?
Happy to, Mr. Chairman. The board met in closed session for a conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, 3 cases. That item has been postponed to the conclusion of the open session. The board also met in closed session regarding public employee employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.5, County Council. Board directed staff to advertise and apply for the position of County Council. The next item, public employee discipline, dismissal, release. Board received a report. There's no other reportable action. The board also met for a report on claims. That item has been postponed to the end of public session. The board also met for a conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, case being Stone versus County of Lassen, case number 56493, and Superior Court of California, County of Lassen. That has also been postponed to the conclusion of the open session.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda approval, additions and/or deletions. Any public comment on this item? Otherwise, I would like to point one thing out. I didn't notice the agendized board reports. I like procedurally to what we have to do to add that on.
We would have to identify that it's an emergency item and do it by forklift so that
What's the pleasure of the board? Should we? So we'll save it.
apologize for that.
Okay, so we'll just save it for the first thing. Okay, if there's nothing else looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
I will second. Okay, so moved and seconded, moved by Supervisor File. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay, we'll move on to the public comment portion of our meeting, and this gives anybody the opportunity to address the board. You could talk at this time, or if you'd like to wait until your item comes up, if it's agendized, or you can talk now, you can talk again later when it is agendized. So I don't have any speaker cards, so I'll go to the audience.
Eileen Spencer, Can We Help Westwood? I just had a handout for the board.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to talk? Come forward.
I'd like to talk to the board, mostly to members of the board.
Just the name for the report.
My name is Steve Pizzolo. The other day I watched the video of the board meeting on February 18th, which was on LassenCountyScoop.com. And after watching that video, I would like to formally request that the board conduct a complete and independent investigation into the claims made by Supervisor Arbach and Supervisor Chapman relating to my character and my moral values, with disclosure to be made in its full merit. Can everybody hear me? Okay, thanks. In the interim, I request the board mandate Supervisor Arbach and Supervisor Chapman, if they don't voluntarily recuse themselves on any item in which I have an interest. Both Arbach and Chapman have blatantly stated they have a conflict of interest with me. Mr. Albright, at last week's meeting, you called me an extortionist. An extortionist is a criminal term. It means taking, extorting, especially money from someone. Not a month had gone by since you and the board voluntarily approved a lease of the one-stop building for $1 a month, retroactive to when the day title was transferred. Were you under any duress when you voted for this? Perhaps. Please explain to me why in a public forum I was called an extortionist. And what property did I personally purchase from Lassen County in Hurlong? Why are you dragging my name through the mud? Explain to me why I shouldn't file a lawsuit against you personally when you stated on public record that this was your interpretation and not the board's, that I was an extortionist. Do you realize that you may have put my CPA license in jeopardy? Extortion is an illegal act. The accusation may very well be a reportable event to the California Board of Accountancy. We adhere to a very high standard of ethics, and if you do not respond to this request in writing within 7 days, I will be forced to turn it over to my attorney. It is a very high charge. Adversary, Mr. Chapman, you stated you would never do business with me and that I was an adversary for over 30 years of yours. You are nothing less than a bold-faced liar. You had no problem working for me as an envelope licker. You had no problem taking my money for licking my envelopes. You picked up the mail every workday. For how many years? 10, 15, 20? Till your business failed. I have a real concern on the possible effect that all that glue may have had on your brain over the years.
So,
Maybe.
I really, in the interest of, I'm not defending the actions of the board, but I don't want to have the saying two wrongs don't make a right. We do need to, I understand the frustration, but just try and relay that without the,
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. When you ran for state representative, I flew you around in my plane at my expense. At that time, I thought you were the best man for the job. In this action, is this an action of an adversary? Did you report this on your campaign contribution forms now that I know you have been cited on another matter before the FPPC? I thought you were a friend, but these are not the actions of a friend. It seems to me, because of your accusations, you are just another politician attempting to cover his tracks. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, my name is Felix Flores, and I'm from Hurlong. The issue about the V2, I thought it was over with. You know, I mean, the last time I was here, Mr. Nichols basically said, it was in the paper, quoted by him, that there was a decision by your staff not to remove V2 from the sale. this board needs to investigate it, find out the sequence of events. You know, Mr. Pizzullo and his partners are trying to help us develop Erlo, okay? The community and ourselves have over $20 million invested in Erlo by ourselves, not without the county help. The community took that responsibility to market ourselves. You should support this. And a good example, I have to use Mr. Chapman, is when they decided to cancel the LRA, the words were, and I'll never forget these words, we need to stop the bleeding. We need to sell it, burn it down, or give it away. We have somebody who's willing to invest their own money. The community is investing their own money. And I don't understand why you're not supporting us. It's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to cost this county anything. Yes, we're going to go and ask to work with the planning department, and I hope you support us. But to put roadblocks over and over again, the discussion has Mr. Egan. The past is the past. Personal vendettas are not your responsibility. You're here for the people. We are the biggest employer in the county. And now the majority of it moves either to Reno or up north. But that's something we have to work out as a community. All we're asking you to support our developers and support our community and get personal feelings out of this thing. We got to work together. That's the bottom line. It's simple. We have to work together to accomplish these goals. Personal opinion should not be involved in these chambers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jean Hodge, and I'd like to discuss the county's priorities. I would like to address the board on the potential plan for an expenditure of $200,000+ for a new boardroom. As we all know, like many counties in California, Lassen County faces daunting challenges in our days ahead. Do we really need new chamber quarters when our jail is more dangerous by the day and for our jail staff and our officers on the street, and when the AB 109 inmates are changing the criminal landscape of our community? I ask you to seriously consider whether our deputies' safety is less important than new board chambers for the board. I would advise you to consider whether the good and patient citizens of Hurlong, where crucial funds were diverted from them, hurting their future, would think it fair to spend thousands of dollars on new digs for our elected officials. Since we have admitted our past errors, wouldn't it be more prudent to invest this money on the Hurlong community at this time? Also, the Beaver Historical Museum, staffed by hardworking volunteers, was badly damaged recently. Perhaps some of those funds could be invested in rebuilding that facility. Surely a center of educational opportunities for our Big Valley residents take precedence over new and comfortable chairs for our elected officials. Successful county infrastructures and futures are built from the bottom up, not from the top down. Gentlemen, I urge you to seriously consider the ramifications of your new boardroom plans. The development of a complete and proper capital improvement plan will certainly get us on our way. Let's first invest in our county's future, and then perhaps we can earn our new boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to? Violet?
I originated a plot while I was here, and this deal right here cost the county a lot of money one day when I fell over it. And I noticed this morning somebody kept doing this, and I thought, well, it's going to go over, it's going to be broken. And then I noticed somebody a while ago took it and turned it clear around the side. So I was wondering what we can do with this before we cost the county more money to repair it from damages that the taxpayers do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment under public comment?
Richard Parker, South County. We in South County have a belief, and we'd like to share it with you. First of all, the history of Lassen County that you may or may not know is that we have shrinking demographics here. There's less kids going through our schools now than when I attended in the 60s. With the success of the environmental movement shutting down the forest, there has been no private corporate investment to replace the mills, logging, and industries. This is a time when you have an opportunity to get out of the way and embrace private industry to grow in South County. People of South County have spoken loud and clear over the last election or two. The other supervisors need to embrace them. The potential in South County will benefit the whole county. Mr. Albaugh, I have to say that I'm kind of disappointed with you since you've been in office. You have 3 successful businessmen here to align yourself with. And you intend, and it looks very obvious on your board, that you've aligned yourself with a career politician. It's not time to sell your soul to a politician. You are smarter than you think you are. Think on your own, make independent decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else under public comment? Before we move off public comment, I'd just like to take a second and acknowledge 2 very dear friends that are, I have a 30-year relationship with from going back to South Africa, and they become family, and they just came out to be the godparents of Graham, our youngest son. So Tony and Karina Giannini, thanks. Thank you. Nice to have you here. Okay. Alrighty, so let's move on to item C1, a public hearing. And we will open the hearing at 10:16.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tom Smiley, Planning and Building Services. The proposed ordinance that's before you will amend Title 18 of our Lassen County Code to allow emergency shelters, transitional housing, and supportive housing within our town service district and our commercial residential district, and also adopt the definitions into our county code. The reason why we're doing this is changes to California Government Code 65583, that's Senate Bill 2, requires lead agencies to identify one zoning district to allow emergency shelters and to allow the transitional and supportive housing by right. Back, the board members who were seated back in 2009 with the adoption of the 2009-2014 housing element may remember at that time programs were adopted, HE4 and HE8, which identified that we would do this prior to the adoption of the 2014-2019 housing element, so that's what we're doing here today. The Planning Commission reviewed the draft ordinance on February 5th, 2014 and recommended that the Board of Supervisors adopt the ordinance. I'm available for any questions. I also have Jamie Smith, our housing grant specialist, who's been instrumental in the development of the 2014-2019 housing element. If you have any questions, we can answer them.
Well, yeah, I'm new at this game, so this, these emergency shelters and the transitional housing, supportive housing, is there already locations for this stuff?
Our Title 18 did not specifically not allow emergency shelters, transitional housing, supportive housing in any district. What we're doing is we're complying with state law, identifying zoning districts where they are specifically allowed to be by right. And what we've done, and the seated board members and those in Planning Commission may remember, we have our CT zoning district, which is distributed throughout Lassen County. However, not specifically in Doyle and in Herlong. So the board adopted to also include it in the CR zoning district, which will allow it to be placed in service in Herlong and Doyle. So we have a number of locations throughout North and South County.
Now I understand what this is. Okay, all right. This isn't, Tom, I'm afraid that we're gonna layer in more regulations and stuff into an already regulation-rich general plan in society, and we don't need that. And I'm hoping that that doesn't come about with this.
This is something that is required to be done before the adoption of the 2014 to 2019 housing element, to have a certified housing element.
What's that?
I went down with Jim Walcott, they had a hearing down there in Sacramento on fairgrounds for funding for the fair. And on that, they had a drawing of all the, where the fairs are and what they're listed as. And they don't have the fairgrounds listed as an OES certified building. No, we use that as OES, correct? I mean, and should that be, I'm bringing that up now because it's emergency shelter. If we have an emergency, we can go to the fairgrounds, right?
One of the places.
Potentially.
Yes, and as far as the certification, I can check. Now that would be different than, if you're thinking of the staging area for the forest, for the fires and that sort of thing, I think that's a different category than certification for emergency shelter. If that's what you're thinking.
Okay, any other questions? We'll open it up to the public. Is there any public comment on this item? All right. It's the pledge of the board.
Well, I think the law has already passed. It said it's the law we did a few years into the state law.
It said it's asking to introduce and adopt by title only an ordinance. Is the action.
Correct.
Requested, yeah. So I'm looking for a motion.
I would make that motion.
I would say.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
It's an ordinance, so it has to be both voted.
Oh,
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please hold the vote.
This way. Thank you. Supervisor Chapman.
Aye.
Supervisor Alba. Supervisor Kennedy. Supervisor Hammond.
aye.
And Chairman Lassen.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Let's take up the item G, information and consent. Is there any items?
I have one item, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask that item G3 be pulled off for discussion. I have a couple minor corrections to make to the letter.
Which one?
G3.
And I would like to have removed G7 and Ms. Spencer.
G1.
Thank you. Okay. Would anybody like to comment on this item before we move to approve? Okay, if not, looking for a motion to approve the balance of the consent.
Make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimous. Okay, we'll take up, in order, I guess, we'll go with G1. We're gonna take up G1. It's the subject of the computer replacement purchase.
My first question is, do you know where these computers are going?
as far as a specific list, I don't have them, but the board directed a few years ago to go on a cycle of replacing computers every 4 years. And so they're going to be spread out throughout virtually all the county departments on their cycle as the 4th year approaches. The oldest computers will be replaced first. But as far as a specific list, no.
In January, we voted to buy 88 computers and monitors and everything. And on the court tour, I took pictures of a stack of computers and monitors that were stored there. And I asked Julie what they were for, and she said that she has the computers stored in various locations around the county. These were, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 computers that were stored there. Now this was on January 21st of this year. You still have, I only saw these, but Julie confirmed that there are other places where these computers are stored. Unless you know where the new 88 computers or 85 computers are going, I think you should ask also why the last batch you bought are just sitting around and being warehoused. This is a lot of money, and I don't believe in the cycle that you're on. At some point, I guess it was presented as a good thing, but I believe in buying things as you need them. This really is disturbing that these computers, and we don't know if there's 50 or 60 or 30, but Julie confirmed that your last order of computers are just sitting and being stored. So I think you should question maybe where the next batch of computers are, who they're going to, and if this order could wait it maybe 6 months, maybe to the next budget cycle. It just bothered me that you approve these things and you don't ask where they're going, or even if they're needed. Maybe these new 85 computers aren't even needed right now. But to have them stored from your last order, it's just wrong. It's a bad use of our money.
Thank you. Richard, is Julie available to talk on that?
She is. She just returned from vacation. Would you like to postpone it for?
I like to. We'll go into our 10:25 recess, and we'll continue with this item. Is she at her office?
Yes. I asked her to. She
Okay,
just returned from vacation.
She could talk on that. So we'll recess for 5 minutes, and when we come back, we'll continue with item G1.